Hi,
Hello.
welcome to the JK Not Really podcast.
Yes. Welcome back.
My name's Kurt,
And I'm Jacqueline.
and we are got a few things to cover. We've been on a little hiatus since our last episode, but that's just because of how the days landed, and of
Yes,
course, so much happened that it's almost like what happened in the last episode doesn't even matter anymore.
No, it
because
doesn't.
so much has happened since then.
Oh my God.
And just to mention, this is the last weekend of Pride.
Yes.
So by the time you're seeing this, it'll probably be the end of June. And so happy Pride Month, everyone. It was an
Yes.
important one. And thank
sure
you,
was.
everyone, for showing up.
Yes.
So I think what we want to start with is talking about the Minnesota political murder.
Yes, the political violence there, that was
It was June 14th.
that was a couple weeks ago. But that was awful.
Yeah. So it just, long story short, the Hoffman household was shot, the Hortmans were killed.
Right.
One of them was the Minnesota House Speaker.
Yes.
This is an example of domestic political violence happening against Democratic elected officials. And that's what I believe the murder was motivated by.
Well, it was. He had a whole list. Found a list in his truck or whatever. He had other targets. This is going to be the Civil War. This is how they're going to do it.
Well, I mean, you've always said they're going to start targeting people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be militias, kind of like a grassroots, would you say, like assassination campaign.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And the thing is, Trump, he doesn't give a. You know what? I mean, they just had the funeral this couple of days ago. And President Biden went, and also Harris went and paid their respects, and they had their body in the state rotunda, I guess, along with their dog. Oh, my God.
Yeah, they did get shot.
And what was Trump doing? He has not said anything about anything. What was he doing? He was golfing.
Well, he doesn't want to be seen as, as being involved with it, one. And two, he doesn't give a shit what happens to the Democrats because he wants to just win. That's all he cares about.
Yeah, well, he's a divider. He's not a unifier, he doesn't have any source of compassion. And if you tell me, Christians out there, that is not Christian-like. That is not Christian-like.
So-
the Heritage Foundation dude, people.
Well, that guy Bolter, he was a minister. He was like a evangelist minister. He had he was very religious.
Oh,
So this is totally an extremist, theocratic assassination done by this radicalized Christian sect of the country. I mean, he showed up dressed as a cop, right?
I know.
He had a cop car with lights and everything. I mean, if that's not as tactical as you can get with an assassination, I don't know what is.
I mean, no one's going to answer the door if any police officer comes by. I mean, although they did say that, police officers always come in pairs, don't ever answer the door if it's just one.
Well-
but, what if then they change it and there'll be two of them that stand up. You just don't answer the door. I mean, you ask for their badge or, it's...
Now you can't trust the police.
You can't trust the police. This is not a good thing.
Well, and I really feel like, the political discourse, like first, Trump is 100% responsible for this political discourse, this animosity towards
for
the
sure.
Democrats. But from our side, like if you go on to TikTok or Instagram, I mean, there's pages dedicated to like guessing when Trump will unalive, right?
Oh, really?
Yes. So like there are people saying these things about Trump, but he's the president.
Right.
Right. Whenever you're the president, that always happens. You always have the opposition. He just particularly tends to be more antagonistic to those people. Right. So, of course, it's going to be a little hyper vigilant on our side as well. But what happened here was, they didn't go on the internet and talk about killing them. They just went and killed them.
I know.
And then Trump didn't denounce it and say, like, this political violence can't be happening. Like, I can imagine Obama, if this happened, he would go and he'd say the political violence is not the way to go, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Some speech.
Exactly.
And we don't get from Trump.
No, we don't get nothing. He just goes on the golf course. He went golfing. For God's sake. He didn't even say anything. It's just
It's disrespectful,
Very
and it just
disrespectful.
shows like where we're at as a country. And it's the last episode. I was cutting shorts from the last episode this morning. All of it was like Civil War, Civil War, Civil War.
oh my God.
And I was like, we keep talking about Civil War, and then this happens.
Yes.
And
Well, this is their agenda. It's all there. That's exactly. And we got to be careful about it and just be.
and thank God he
Aware.
was stopped. It was by the grace of God that a cop happened to come after that stop. They bust him leaving the house, so he couldn't get back in his car. When they looked in his car, they had flyers to the what was it, the rally, the protest,
Yeah.
and
So he had
lists.
plans to go over there too?
He had lists of where other Democratic officials lived, and it was going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they're scared of Tim Walz.
Who would be scared of him? He's such a great guy, man.
He's a good candidate for the Democratic ticket.
He would be. He'd be a good president, I think. He's cool.
I mean, even if he wasn't the presidential figure, he's still like one of the leaders of this very liberal, more left-leaning way of governing, right? His state is run very well.
Yeah. No, it is. It really is. Yes. Well, I just remembered something. What happened in New York? The mayor.
Oh, the mayor race.
Yeah, we got to say something
So
about that.
good.
It's not on our agenda,
Cuomo.
but we should say that. He didn't get all the votes, but of course they have a special kind of election where they you
It's
go and you
ranked
vote.
choice.
It's ranked choice.
So he got like the
first,
most
second,
twos
third.
or whatever. It was a landslide.
It was a landslide for this. What? How
Enough
do you pronounce
for
his last
Cuomo.
name? Yeah, but anyway, he's a progressive.
Yes, he's super progressive.
And the Republicans, they are totally, they
Zoran
don't like it.
Mamdani.
I know, they don't like it. They think he should be deported and all this. And, but you know why they're saying that is because they're scared to death of the primaries and what's coming up in 2026.
But he was able, Cuomo is a staple in New York
Yeah.
City.
Well,
For him to push over that Titan, huge thing. And what I think we're seeing with that election, I'm glad you brought it up, because that election is actually revitalizing the Democratic Party in itself, just the fact that it occurred. But then just now we're seeing how Democrats should run their campaigns.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he was going door to door, and that's the way it should be done.
And he was for policies that are very controversial. I mean, he was for rent control, really rent freezing, and things that a lot of more middle line or conservative Democrats would not want economically, But it shows that the people, they want to be able to afford to live in New York City. And that's
Exactly.
a sentiment, I think, across the country.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, you're right. This is going to be the catalyst of how the Democratic Party is going to make its next move.
And he's said he's going to be a power against the current administration. He's like, we're gonna block everything. We're gonna do everything we can, and that energized people too.
Yeah.
And New York I think has more Jews living in it than Tel Aviv. Well, I know that he's more of a pro-Palestinian. He's not a Zionist, and for a city that has that many Jewish people to vote in something that progressive,
But do you think they voted him in? Or do you think they're upset about it?
I don't think they're upset about it. I think that some of the Jewish people in New York are Americans first. And they also don't like what's happening in the Middle East, right? I don't think they want bombs flying from Iran into Israel, right?
Well, that's for sure, yes.
And their president that they have now is essentially like a Trump in Israel.
Oh, he's so sick.
He would be facing war crimes, and they're saying that's why he went to war for all this. But I mean, a great win for the Democratic Party. I think it shows how someone like AOC and Bernie Sanders, that's the way to go, because they're not pussyfooting on these immigration issues, or they are just,
They're taking an extreme stance
they're
because
being the antithesis of what's in power now.
Exactly, and that's exactly what the Republicans did. So we have to do the same. We cannot be wishy-washy in the middle and so we want everybody to like us. No, that's not how to do it. You go extreme on the other side and you go for it and you fight them with their same kind of energy.
Well, in this economy too, people want more socialist, liberal policies in place because we're the
they
only
do.
country that doesn't have universal health care.
I know.
You know, housing is out of control. We're being taxed more than ever, while the richest people in the country are taxed less.
No, I never understood that.
And if they were taxed just a little more, we could have universal health care.
I
We
know.
could have new roads. We could have a rail across the country, a speed rail.
We wouldn't have hungry people or homeless people.
Or
Seriously.
homeless veterans. Let's just maybe
mean,
at least that.
At least that.
So I think it's showing people how politics is going. Unfortunately, you can't be in the middle anymore. It's all about spectacle and radicalization.
Exactly. And that's what you have to do. So, yeah. So that was some good news there.
And speaking of, because that goes into the Iran conflict, right?
Right.
So I don't think we even mentioned that happened. We started World War III this
World
last.
War III. Can you believe that? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, we don't want Iran to have any nuclear weapons, but I thought Obama had done, a nuclear deal with them to where they weren't able to build anymore. And then didn't Trump
Undo the deal.
He undid the deal. So then he
said
undid the deal.
How does he say? It's a bad deal.
It's
we're
a
not.
bad
We're
deal."
not getting anything out of the deal.
So he ends it. and
Doesn't
then-
put anything in its place.
Nothing in its place. So then they're over there, oh, okay, we're going to build. So they're building. And then what? Then Israel goes and starts bombing them.
Okay.
And then Trump goes and bombs them. So he breaks something. Then he goes and he fixes it or tries to fix it. And then he claims he's the hero. And now he needs.
And he says there's a ceasefire when there isn't one.
So when there's no ceasefire.
He's a
Oh,
freaking
God.
joke. So what gets me, if you don't have deja vu from this in Iraq and Iran during the Bush administration, do you remember that whole war that started there? It didn't go
Right.
very well for us.
No, it didn't.
It was basically a Middle East forever war. We pulled out historically badly, which was horrible for Biden. That was one of the things that people really criticized Biden about. And then Trump just goes in and antagonizes the Middle East
know.
again.
And he says, oh, well, we won't send any troops. How could you avoid that? Because he says, well, okay, we'll go and bomb them and get rid of all their nukes, but we're not going to be involved in their regime change. Well, sorry, you're going to have to get involved in their regime change of some kind because they're just going to come back.
Yeah,
and do it again.
retaliate. And let's not be like, they don't like us in Iran.
Yes.
There's like a jihad on
they don't
America.
like Trump.
But they don't like the United States in general. They don't like
Right.
the West. And Iran, I don't think they even have a nuke. That's why I said I'm having like deja vu because we went in there looking for weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
And there was nothing.
Right.
And Tulsi Gabbard, or was that?
Yeah.
She said, intelligence briefing before this happened, that they
don't
don't have a nuke. And they're like years from getting one.
Yeah.
Right? And then when they asked Trump, like, well, didn't your head of intelligence say this? He's like, well, they're wrong.
I don't listen to her. They're wrong. Well, then why did you hire her then? I know. So you really don't know. No.
So they're just really what they're doing is they're capitulating to Israel.
Okay.
Right? And they're bombing Iran because Israel is a warmongering, like, theocratic fascist state as well.
Right.
It's just a completely different thing that's going on there. And so Iran is retaliating, and that's to be expected. But now what we've done is if we didn't destroy their nuclear program, which the intelligence briefings are saying we didn't.
I know, and he's saying they're all gone. Now they're more than motivated. Now they're going to go, and they are going to build some, and they will retaliate. It may not be right now, but they will do it.
And
then the supercells, is that what they call them
The
here?
sleeper cells.
Sleeper cells.
The,
Sleeper
suicide
cells.
bombers.
The suicide bombers, right. So there's going to be some terrorist acts coming around in here, too.
I'm pretty sure that the terrorist attacks are going to come, they're going to retaliate. And the whole thing is that if they don't build a nuke, like if let's say we did destroy their program, they're going to even be more motivated just to get one. And they don't care if they build it or not, as long as they can harness one. And who's going to give them nukes? Russia.
Of course.
Because
Because Russia has a lot of nukes.
Yes, and
And they have
with
them aimed at
Iran.
us. Yeah.
So I think it's opened a whole Pandora's box of
Oh,
possibility.
totally.
It's like poking the bee's nest.
Yeah, or the bear, or whatever.
And
Yeah, it's just
it's like a bear surrounded in bees' nests.
yeah. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it really makes me frightened. Quite frankly, we're supposed to feel safe. Well, I don't. Do you? No, at all. In any capacity, really.
And before they even did the bombing, Trump has been like warning Iran, essentially, saying like, "Oh well, we don't know what we're gonna do. Something's gonna come, big surprise," like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Why are you?"
I'm going to make a decision in 2 weeks. Everything's 2 weeks with him. I don't know what it is about the 2-week thing.
But he was so clear about it that people knew, like basically everyone knew.
Yeah.
That Iran was going to get bombed that
Yeah.
weekend, and he was going to wait for the weekend so it didn't hurt the market. We all knew that.
Oh, God.
And we're not Iranian intelligence.
Oh, God.
So, like, I knew that Iran was getting bombed before they were bombed, just
You
from
knew
putting
that?
the pieces together. Yes, because he kept saying it. And he told the world. And the CIA, or someone in Langley, or not Langley, but what's the shape? The Pentagon.
Pentagon.
They were saying that their OPSEC fragility was the president in that operation. Because
Really?
he was basically warning Iran for about a week and a half.
Oh,
So he can't handle these complex,
I know.
like, war scenarios.
No, I can't. And neither can Pete.
Oh, Pete Hegseth is a
Forget it.
loony bin.
Oh, he is. And then he goes on and he does these press conferences. And what does he do? He just scolds all the press people. And he's like, yeah, God, his voice bugs the hell out of me.
I love it.
Jesus.
I love it because this, like, report comes out. It's the press. That the intelligence briefing is saying that it wasn't destroyed, right?
Right.
They moved the
Right,
enriched
right.
uranium, that the facilities can be up and running in months, that's what they said. And so the president, or I forget who went on, but they were like, so to explain, the details of what happened, we're going to bring on Pete Hegseth. And he comes and he basically is like, how dare you all question the president? He doesn't.
I love the president. I really love him. I love him.
No
I love him.
explanation.
Yeah,
Just like, you media, just take these things. And instead of saying how wonderful and brave the pilots were,
Yeah. And
You
our
just-
president was so brave.
you just want to hurt our military.
Yeah.
And like, we're all like, dude, your intelligence briefing came from your government.
Exactly.
Telling us that it didn't happen. Like, tell us it did happen, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But there was one point where a Fox News anchor was like, oh, like they asked him a very simple question. They were like, will they have the capability to get the nukes on? And he was like, you know what, Jenny? You're probably the worst one. And misleading and falsifying. And she was like, what the fuck? And everyone, and like, this is Fox News,
Oh, God.
And I was like, he must be seeing double. He must have thought she was MSNBC because he was so
geez.
drunk.
He must have been. I know. He didn't really answer any of their questions. He just
No.
kept going back and saying, how dare you? How dare you go against the president? I love him. I love him. I love him. How dare you?
Just scold the media for an hour and a half.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
No operational details.
Yes, at all. But the general guy did. I mean, he basically gave some kind of
Well,
coherent.
apparently they're buried under a mountain, but
Yeah. Well,
I'm not worried about them building one. I'm worried about Russia giving them one.
Right.
In all honesty, but I don't think it was destroyed.
yeah, me neither.
And I don't even think they were building a nuke. I'm like very skeptical about the whole thing.
It's, yeah. Well, we'll never know, I guess. We'll just never know.
Well,
But
other than Iran going to shit.
yeah, well, this will lead into our next subject. I personally think that Trump did this whole Iran thing, bombing as his strategy of distraction, and he wanted he wanted the news cycle to just go on this because he didn't want anybody to pay attention to the bill that's going on. The big, I call it the big bad and the ugly bill.
He had a lot of stuff to quiet up.
Well, yeah, a lot, but that's a big one.
There's like Epstein,
Yeah.
the big bill,
Oh.
the Elon breakup,
Everything.
everything is going to shit.
It is going to shit. And yeah, so that's what I truly believe.
He was like, let's bomb someone.
Let's bomb someone. and
Iran seems a good idea.
Let's just do it. Yeah, start World War III. Why not?
Send some bunker
Yeah.
busters.
I mean, anybody who's going to vote for this bill, it's a betrayal bill, really. You know, you're voting for them to rip away health care away from 16 million people, take food off the plates of 4 million kids, and run up the debt. $3.4 trillion. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is what this bill is about. And that's why Trump doesn't want anybody to really think about it or look at it. And I think just recently, a couple of days ago, I think the Senate was voting on it, and I think they voted on it to the next stage. So a lot of those Republicans that were basically stating, I'm not going to vote for it. I'm not going to vote because it's going to hurt my state because a lot of my constituents, they rely on Medicare and Medicaid. We can't do it. Well, they obviously turned because it did go to the next step. I mean, it still has to happen. But, you know, it's going to get passed. But the way I view it is when you do a big bill like this, it really is to show the people that voted you in, that administration, what your priority is. So this bill is showing the priority, that the priority is about the billionaires. It's not about the people at all.
Well, and they want to get it in before there's any chance of the midterm interrupting their plot to do the biggest wealth transfer from the poorest part of the country to the richest.
And that's exactly what it is. And he has the gall to stand there and look into the cameras, Trump, and say, no, we're not touching Medicare.
He's lying.
He's totally lying.
He's such a liar.
And this bill is like thousands of pages long, right? There's a lot of stuff that they're throwing into this bill that we don't even know. I don't even know how the senators can read it all.
They can't. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene came out later and was like, I shouldn't have voted for this. And we're like, did you read it? She's like, I didn't know that was in there.
There's a lot of things in there. If you were to dissect it, there are a lot of things in there.
Did you hear Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about that bill?
No, I did not know.
Okay. So you know that shit is weird when she makes sense. Because she was against the bill. And she was saying, like, they put this in here, like this isn't, we don't need to be funding wars. And, she's like, and we're, the Iran thing, she's really against.
Oh, she's totally against
And
that.
I was never, like, I was, like, listening to her talking, I was like, holy shit. It's like,
so it's really bad. Oh, my God.
when you're listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're like, I am in agreement with you. Shit is bad.
Shit is really bad. No, it's not a good bill. Not a good bill at all. And, the billionaires are going to take all the money. It's ridiculous.
And, you have Mike Johnson does not care about his position as speaker. No. He is like a temporary page holder for the Republican Party to use as a pathway to force all these things through.
Right.
And it's wildly unpopular. The majority of Americans don't want what this bill says.
No.
None of them.
No, they don't.
And Trump keeps saying things like tax on tips. People are saying that's not even in there.
No.
And he keeps saying it.
No. Well, he doesn't know anything.
So it's a big boondoggle, and
that's why the elections in 2026. That's why it's important. This is the only way we can change things. We got to vote them out. That's the only way. We still have the power with the people, and so the protests, we got to keep on doing those peacefully. But that's really it, because I hate to say it, but I think this bill will pass.
So it's going to pass, and we're all going to suffer, and that's just what we have to look forward to.
Yeah.
And as Joni Ernst said, we're all going to die.
Yes, we're all going to die. Can you imagine she's saying that? And then
that's the best description of this bill I've heard out of any.
Because it's true. We are all going to die.
But she's saying it to someone who's like, what if they cut Medicaid? She's like, you're going to kill us. And she's like, we're all going to die.
Shit.
That's her policy platform.
I know. Oh, God. And then Mitch McConnell comes out and he says, they'll get over it. Because I think the reason he said it is because MAGA, Trump's base, the MAGA people, they will always vote and stand behind President Trump, no matter what. Even if he's like taking their health care away and whatever, they're always going to be there. And that's why Mitch McConnell came out and said, well, let them eat cake. Well, he didn't say it like that. Basically, he said
They'll get over it.
They'll get over it.
They're indoctrinated so far that they'll
Yeah.
never disagree with us, so we can abuse them as much as we want. That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
He was saying the people that vote us into office are so stupid
Yes.
that they won't know any better.
Yeah, so
That's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying. So we could do whatever we want. Don't worry. Don't worry about the midterms.
He's
We'll
like,
be fine.
everyone is retarded
Right.
in the red states.
Yeah, that's basically what he's
Basically
saying.
what he's saying.
That's what he's saying to you guys.
He's saying you guys are so dumb, you'll never catch on, you'll never notice, and we're going to take all your money.
You're going to take all your money. You won't have money to buy food. You're not going to have any health care.
They don't know any better. Let them die in the street.
Yep.
That's basically what they're saying to us.
Forget that. They're
No,
doomed. Okay?
we're lucky if the elderly don't get pushed out the street. What happens when the Medicare runs out?
Well, that's true.
What do they just
Where are they gonna
wheel
go?
them out of the home onto
That-
the streets?
I guess so. Well, you know what? They'll wheel them out there, and you know what? ICE will go and arrest them, just like they did those protesters in the wheelchairs. They actually put zip ties on their arms. Like, really, dude? What is a guy in a wheelchair or an older woman in a wheelchair gonna do? Why zip tie them? Their arms together.
The ICE officers
And then they wheel them out.
are Gestapo.
That is just,
It's so bad.
God, that could be a total political cartoon if you really think about it.
I mean, so obviously stuff is not good right now, and it feels like it's the end of the world. And when we were at Pride this weekend, it's so sad because, thank God our mayor said some things like he's going to resist the administration, blah, 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 blah. But this was like, people were saying this might be the last Pride.
No.
People were saying that, like
know.
in casual conversation.
And why are we saying that? Because what happened 2 days ago, I think it was, or was it yesterday, Friday? The Supreme Court, our lovely Supreme Court judges, especially the GOP, the conservative ones, they basically gave it to Trump. No, they told that the federal courts cannot do a nationwide ban on any of Trump's policies. What they basically said for the birthright. But what this really means is
It's that
not
no more injunctions. No more state injunctions.
Yes, it's basically for everything. So now they have the power now to go after all our freedoms at their will. And what's next, I believe, is gay marriage.
And it'll
the
have to be that
everything.
each state sues independently. And those lawsuits won't be done until Trump is dead or out of office.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but in the meantime, a judge can't put a stay or a stop on the changes. They have to get enacted. So you have to live under whatever that rule is until it gets through to Supreme Court and is ruled on. And then there's appeal after appeal.
Right.
So it totally screwed the American people, and it gimped the judicial branch.
Right.
And that's what the Supreme Court wants to do. They want to be the only court that makes decisions, apparently.
Well, they're basically they're eating away at their own power, to tell you the truth. Because now, we have the three branches of government, and we need that to keep tabs on each other. Well, that's getting broken down, and it started with this. That was major. That was a major decision. It was a wrong decision, but
It's wrong.
it's
And
really wrong because now we're going to have to live with it until we can. I don't know what we can do until we vote them out.
I like to explain it to people this way. It's important that the judges have the ability to tell the president what to do.
Exactly.
Because if the president's breaking the law, the judge needs to be there to say, hey, wait a minute, that's unconstitutional. We can duke it out, but before we get to any conclusion, no. Like, we're not
Exactly.
doing it. And that's essential. And you have
know.
to think of it this way. If the president was in the street in front of a police officer and pulled out a knife and started stabbing a pregnant lady, right? Just stabbing her. The police officer should be able to arrest him, right? Not say, oh, let's just wait till the court date finishes. The lady and the baby are dead already.
Right.
You want him to go and stop him.
Right. But he
Same
can't.
thing.
It's the same thing.
It's the same
That's
thing.
a great
Judge
analogy.
and police officer. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. You're right. That
So
simplifies it.
if you'd like a cop to stop President Trump from stabbing and killing a pregnant woman in the street because he's standing in front of him, you also want judges to be able to order injunctions.
Yes.
It's like,
Exactly. No, that totally explains it. Yeah. I mean, this was not a good thing. So it's just sad. It's just so sad. But hopefully it will not be the last Pride.
Hopefully.
We just got to keep fighting. And we do that by protesting. We still have the power. The people still has the power. We're the only thing left, actually. We are the only thing left. We're the soldiers.
he's already taken away women. He's already taken away immigrants.
Yep.
There is no one. Trans people were first.
Yep.
They were taken out first.
Yep.
So the gay and queer people, I mean, it's coming.
It's coming. They're going to go after
And
gay
we're going to have to
marriage.
fight again.
Yep, and they're going to go after a nationwide abortion as well. That's going to happen. They're going to go
that's-
after women, and they're going to go after gay people. Oh, and all the brown people, of course. Really, seriously. I mean, if you have brown skin, you got to you got to watch
We
out.
didn't even talk about that. The birthright citizenship. That's the
Yeah.
huge thing that.
I know.
I mean, it's horrible.
Well,
For
wouldn't-
hundreds of years, the
Wouldn't
precedent.
his children have to be deported?
Because
Trump's-
they're a child of an immigrant.
Well, his first. I mean, is it his first wife?
His
Yes,
second
first
wife.
wife.
She was an immigrant too?
Well, she was an immigrant, but she wasn't legal. She had her kids before she was legal. So wouldn't that fall along the lines to where, well, those
They're
guys,
maybe
that means
not
Eric and-
citizens anymore.
They're not citizens. They got to get deported. They got to go.
No,
Where
see,
would they-
these rules don't apply to,
They don't apply to white people.
and it's
No.
ridiculous.
No, it's ridiculous. It's scary. Anyway, well, we hate
So I
to...
guess the last thing, there's no positive ending here.
We don't have a positive ending. All we could do is just remember that the power is still with the people. We got to keep protesting peacefully, but we got to keep protesting, and we also have to vote.
And peacefully is the key word.
That
You
is
don't
the
want to
key word.
give them any excuse
No.
to roll in the National Guard, because they're going to do it anyways, but don't
Yeah.
give them any excuse.
Don't give him any excuse at all.
The
So-
prick of the week, I
Well,
guess. we
there's
have
two
to-
of them,
Okay.
and I really too believe that the two this week should. Well, there should be more, but the two I think is that Senator Joni Ernst for saying,
What a,
yeah, I mean that was.
she's more of a see you next Tuesday in
Yes.
my book. I don't like her.
I don't like her either. Well, she's an ass.
How
Anyway,
dare she? That
then-
is so stupid to say. And
I
it's,
know.
It's just,
And then Mitch McConnell. I mean, he didn't have to.
Oh, Turtle Mitch.
The Turtle Mitch. He didn't have to say that. He's not even running. He's retiring. Why would he even say that?
Mitch McConnell, this is your last chance to save us.
Yeah.
And all
yeah.
you're doing is empowering the right to do whatever they want.
Exactly.
And,
I just
Turtle
think
Mitch.
That's pathetic. It's pathetic. Really.
He has been a problem for a really long time. I'm
Yeah.
glad he's going to be gone. It's going to be hard to replace him though in the Republican Senate. He's been
Well,
a
yeah.
force to be reckoned with.
Well,
I can
he
tell you
was.
that.
He was. Well, we'll see what happens there.
But you're a prick.
You're a prick. I'm sorry. I don't know if he was a prick before. No, I don't think so.
Mitch McConnell? Oh, during Obama, he was horrible. He blocked all the judges. He was.
Oh yeah. No, but I mean a prick for a prick of the week.
Oh no, Mitch
he wasn't.
McConnell has never been a prick
So
of the
this
week.
is his first
This
time.
is his first time.
Well, congratulations.
Either
Senator
has what's her
McConnell.
name, Joni?
Yeah, Joni. Good old Joni. Joni.
I mean, to demean your own people and tell them oh, if you lose Medicare, who cares? We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die anyway, so it's your turn.
What about I don't want to die, but I just don't want to have my arm amputated and lose all of my financial security.
Exactly.
And survive that. I'd rather die, but there are worse things than death, and those things are losing your Medicaid.
Yeah. They're also going after all the medical research. They're taking money away from that big time. So there are going to be a lot of people who are going to die that are on, certain protocols.
And just
things.
not having access to care, because
Yeah.
rural hospitals are basically funded by Medicaid.
Yeah, so you're right,
So,
Joni.
if
A
you
lot
have to-
of people are going to die. Well, anyway, congratulations to you, Joni.
Pricks of the week.
Pricks of the week.
Well, it's been a little longer than a week, actually, more like 2 weeks, but
Yeah.
Everyone stay safe and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And ring
the
that little bell.
Everything you
Yes.
do to spread the word helps us keep coming back.
Yes.
And thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.